So instead of using, crackers or chips for this one, I'm going to show you how to make homemade pita chips. And it's so easy and to do. It's kind of fun to do too. And these are really nice because they're baked. So you could certainly buy pita chips. That would work too. So when you buy the pita chips, you want to buy the ones that actually have a pocket to them. The more of the flatbread pitas are going to be a little bit too thick. So you cut them in half, and that way you can easily get at the pocket. And I just use a pizza cutter. And I bake my own tortilla chips a lot of times too, if I've got the time. I mean, you can certainly buy baked tortilla chips, which are great. But I seem to always have flour tortillas and pita bread around, so these are really fun to make. And you know exactly what's, in these. Not a bunch of crazy ingredients. So again, I just use a pizza cutter and cut these into wedges. You can cut them into whatever size you like. And get them on a cookie sheet. And the key is, when you put them on the cookie sheet, you really want to spread them out. You don't want to have them overcrowded on that cookie sheet. And actually, baked tortilla chips is pretty much the same method, except that you don't split them in half. You can do this with, these would be great with corn or flour tortilla chips for dipping into the hummus too. But I happen to love pita with hummus. All right, so then you can take olive oil and a little bit of a brush and brush it on. But even easier, you can get the spray olive oil. And you want to spray these well, or brush them with some olive oil. They actually have these containers now, and I don't have one, but I'm totally going to get one, where you can actually put real olive oil into a sprayer and then, spray it on that way. Then we're going to season these with a little bit of kosher salt. You don't have to, but this is going to give them some nice flavor. And then however you want to season them, they'd be really great with some a little bit of dry ranch dressing mix sprinkled on top, which has garlic and herbs. I thought a little bit of chili powder would be nice with this roasted red pepper hummus. It's also going to give the pita chips a nice, pretty red color. Dried parsley would also be great. And actually, let's do some dried parsley on these. How are you today, Ann? I got so talking, and I was so excited about this healthy but yummy recipe that I didn't even bring in. How are you today, lady?
Fantastic.
Ah, and thank you for the dried parsley. But it's, however you want to season these, whatever you have, is all going to work great. This is just going to give it a little pretty color. And then we pop these in the oven. I like to do these on a higher heat, like 400, 425, even 450, but keep an eye on them because they toast up, and the tortilla chips toast up even quicker. But these toast up in minutes. So Ann is going to be my guide on this one and not let me burn these. Set a timer and check them after a couple of minutes. I also like to do it normally on a higher rack. They'll toast up a little quicker that way. But you don't want to over toast them. They're very easy to burn, so keep an eye on those. Okay, so my pita chips are in the oven. Now we're going to start working on this roasted red pepper hummus. So it's just taking my standard hummus recipe and adding a couple other flavors and giving it a great color with the red pepper. And roasted red pepper hummus is, I love hummus, regular hummus. I love any kind of hummus, but roasted red pepper is my all-time favorite. Okay, so it starts out with 2 cans of garbanzo beans. Some of the cans also say chickpeas on one side and garbanzo beans on the other. Same thing. It's like a potato kind of thing. Exact same thing. So if your can says chickpeas, that's what you want. If it says garbanzo beans, that's what you want. Doesn't matter, either one. The one thing you want to do though, and we're using again 2 cans, is you want to get rid, it comes with this liquid inside. We want to totally get rid of that. We don't want any of that to end up in our hummus. So make sure and take this extra step of not only draining these, but I'm actually going to rinse them. And it's as easy as just getting your kitchen colander out, dumping the beans in there. It's not a real, like black beans come in a thicker liquid. This is pretty thin liquid. But this takes 2 seconds to do, and it really makes a difference in the flavor. You just don't want that liquid to get in there. Okay, I'm gonna dump these into my food processor. Now, food processor for this is, makes this done in no time. So it really is the best tool for the job. A blender would work, and you could mash it up by hand, but you're going to get quite a bit chunkier hummus. So I always weigh, should I drag the food processor out and get all the attachments together, and then it's kind of a pain to wash. Whenever I'm making hummus, yeah, it is totally worth it. And this is a bigger one. Food processors, we got one for my wedding gift years and years and years ago. I put it on, it was like my big splurge. And I remember when they were several $100s. And I think these days you can still find some that are that expensive, but they've really come down in price. And you can get them for $50 or less. And you can also get the mini ones, which do a great job, and they would work fine for this. You might have to just do it in batches, but they're like $25 or less. So if you don't have one of these, boy, they really, they're a time saver, and I happen to love them. So, okay, put my garbanzo beans or chickpeas in there. I am smelling my chips, and they're looking gorgeous. They're going to be done really soon. The recipe calls for 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Ann gave me 4. I'm going to do 3 because they are ginormous. And I'm just giving them a rough chop. I'm not going to do much more with them because the food processor is going to do most of the work, but I just don't want to have a big old clove of garlic in there. So just a little bit of a rough chop there. All right. Cumin. Cumin is a really nice flavor in hummus. You don't have to use it. It's found in a lot of hummus recipes. I happen to love it, so we're just doing a little bit. Some salt, again, some kosher salt. Pinch of cayenne pepper. This is not going to be spicy by any means. This is just going to add some flavor. If you don't want it in there, you can leave it out. Hummus is not spicy, it's just very flavorful, so if you're worried about that, don't worry about it. It's really not spicy at all. Now I'm doing some roasted peppers from the jar, and I happen to love these. This is going to give it a great color and really some nice flavor. You could certainly roast your red peppers by hand. I don't know why you would. No. If you have some extra peppers, what you could do is just throw some olive oil on them and roast them in the oven until they get nice and soft. And that's another way to do it. But these jarred roasted red peppers just make it so easy. Ooh, these are looking really good. I'm actually going to move them. Yeah, you think they're done, Ann? Yeah. Okay, we'll play it safe. Actually, they look nice and crispy. And they'll continue, like cookies on a cookie sheet, they actually will continue to toast a little bit. So I'm just going to put them to the side there, and they'll just continue to toast up a little bit on that cookie sheet and crisp us. Okay, so one ingredient that you may not have or may never even heard of in hummus is called tahini. And I remember putting that in my first cookbook, and I thought I better explain what it is, because it's one of those things that I had never heard of it. And so you might not have heard of it either. It is basically, think peanut butter, ground up peanut butter, but this, instead of that, is ground up sesame seeds, and it's a paste, and it really adds a nice, unique flavor to hummus. The thing with it is you need to stir it up a little bit, and then after you open it, you keep it in the refrigerator, and you'll use it in, like a jar of this will last me a good 6 months or longer. So it's a little bit of a splurge, but you're only going to use about 1/4 cup of the tahini in here, and then screw the top back on and get it back into the fridge and use it for another hummus recipe down the road. So, pardon me?
Store it upside down.
Oh, whoops, wrong top. And good suggestion on that. Store it upside down in the fridge. Thank you for that. Good tip. And that way, it won't separate like that as much. Okay. Thank you, Ann, my sidekick and partner in crime. A little fresh lemon juice also in this, and this is found in a lot of classic hummus recipes. And then we're going to do some olive oil. And that's it. Very simple. This makes a nice size batch, and it really disappears because it's guilt-free. Oh, and a little bit of water too. And I add a little bit of water at the beginning, and I can always add more at the end. I like a really smooth hummus. But I say this makes a big batch, and normally at my house when I set this out, it will disappear. And I love putting it out like when Ireland's having friends over with a whole bunch of different veggies. And you know, it's just so cool to see teenagers eat really healthy stuff like this. And this, my friends, is why I love my food processor, because it does the job in no time. Now this is just a teeny bit thick, so I'm going to add a little more olive oil and just give it one more pulse. I love to put this out not only with pita chips, but all sorts of fun, fresh, different vegetables, cucumbers and red pepper and asparagus. Don't just think celery and carrots. Think about some of the other unique vegetables that your kids may not even thought about trying. Jicama is really fun with hummus. And dip away, because this guy is guilt-free. And will keep in your fridge, as mentioned, for up to a week or so. So it's the perfect party food, because you can make it ahead of time, and actually the flavors really kind of get extra exciting after it's been in the refrigerator for a little bit. So there you go. You can decorate the top with a little bit of parsley if you'd like. My roasted red pepper hummus. It's delicious, but nice and healthy too.